Hey guys, it's Corey and Tiffany, and we're the co-founders of Investor Life.
And we help investors scale their portfolios using other people's money. Fearless, welcome to another Tactical Tuesday.
Welcome to another Tactical Tuesday. We have a really cool topic that we're going to be talking about tonight. This, guys, I hope is a scenario that shows you the power of leveraging your money.
We help investors take their portfolios from 2 or 3, 5 properties maybe, up to 15, 20, 50 properties if that's what they're wanting to.
Really, the sky's the limit.
And we help investors scale their portfolio
for our free weekly live trainings that we do over there on Facebook. Thanks for...
Hey guys, it's Corey from Investor Life, and Tiffany just stuck out her tongue at me. Okay.
Yeah, that was a bad rendition. But guys, today, what wreck people in real estate? We're going to be talking about that, and we're going to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. Welcome everybody to our Tactical Tuesday. Happy to have you here again. Throw your name in the comments. Let us know where you're from. That always helps in our conversation during our Tactical Tuesday. We really appreciate that. So if you can do that, that would be great. So happy to have you here. We have a great topic tonight, guys. We're going to be talking about something. We have had this guest on a couple of times before, actually, talking about the Smith maneuver. And so you've probably heard of that before. If you haven't heard about it, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction towards it tonight, and how it is actually beneficial for us as investors, beneficial for us as homeowners, how it can save us maybe a lot of money in interest payments towards our mortgages, our personal residence, and how it can save us years off of paying off our mortgages. And that's kind of the purpose of it. But the man behind this strategy we're going to have on tonight, his name is Robinson Smith, and he's going to kind of discuss how all of this works and how it can benefit you and me. So that's our topic for tonight, guys. So whatever questions you have, throw them in the chat and we will get them answered for you tonight, because that's the purpose of this. Okay, so we have the experts. We bring the experts to you, and then you have the opportunity to ask whatever questions you might have. So let's jump to the chat here to start off with. We have Jules from Spruce Grove. Welcome, Jules. And Joan and Gord from Cochrane. Carleton Place, Ontario, one of our Facebook users. I don't see the name, unfortunately. Sometimes I miss that. Montreal, Brampton, Pickering. So all across Canada, guys, welcome to our Tactical Tuesday tonight. And hey, guys, I know it's a big night for some people. It's Halloween night, and here we are talking about interest rates, mortgages, and that. And I know that there might be other things that are more exciting for you to do tonight, but for those of you that are here, we really, really appreciate that. So I'm glad you're here. Nanaimo, Lake Country, Toronto, all across Canada. Washington, is that what WASH means? I'm not sure, but I'm kind of assuming that's what it means. I know we have a number of viewers from the US and other countries as well. So welcome, guys. So what I'm going to do is bring on Robinson, and we're going to talk about this. It's called a maneuver, but really what it is it's a way of positioning our investments. It's a way of positioning our primary residence mortgage, and making sure that all of it works to the best capacity. That's how I would sum it up, but we're going to have him sum it up for us as well, and kind of give us a definition of what the purpose of this whole thing is, and how you can get involved if it's something that you're interested in doing. Okay, so I'm looking forward to your questions, guys. So if you're getting confused as we go through the material tonight, you don't quite understand it, whatever the case might be, throw your questions in the chat and we will make sure that they are answered, okay? So I am going to bring on Robinson. Welcome and to our Tactical Tuesday again. I know you've been here several times, but our Facebook group is growing and growing and growing, and so there's several viewers here that may not have seen you before. So we want to make sure they understand what this maneuver is all about. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Corey. It's a pleasure to be back.
Okay, awesome. So let's just kind of start at the very basics, at the very beginning, if you will. Just assume that you're talking to somebody that's never heard of this before. Okay, I think a lot of us within our group have obviously heard about this, and not only that, but implemented this strategy. I know we personally have implemented it, and I know many of our members have as well. But tell me, what is the point, or what is the Smith maneuver? How do you define it?
Yeah,
it's kind of named after you, isn't it? You and your dad. I know your dad kind of came up with it, but you carry the name on, right?
Yeah, my father developed a strategy when I was a wee bairn, so I can't take credit for the development of it, but he passed away in 2011, and I am fortunate enough to continue on his legacy and providing the strategy to Canadian homeowners, because it's not easy out there. I think everybody knows it's not easy. It's not getting any easier. And we've got a solution for a lot of Canadians, those Canadians who are fortunate enough to own their home. But basically, the whole premise behind the Smith maneuver is the fact that our American cousins can deduct a good portion of their mortgage interest in their principal residence. We Canadians cannot. And that puts us at a significant disadvantage. Now, that being said, we do have the capital gains exemption on our principal residence here in Canada, and our American cousins do not. But if you were to sort of weigh these two, you'd probably want to have tax deductible mortgage. But we're fortunate enough with the Smith maneuver that we can have the best of both worlds. We can actually deduct the interest on our mortgage via this strategy, and we still get to maintain that capital gains exemption. So that aside, the challenge we're faced with is the fact that mortgages in Canada are hugely expensive. And I don't have to tell anybody, right? They all know it. All you listeners know that. And the math that no Canadian likes to do when they're getting their mortgage is, how much is this actually going to cost me, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is that if you go out and you get a $400,000 mortgage at 6%, you're at close to around the 40% marginal tax rate. In order to pay off that $400,000 mortgage over the course of 25 years, you have to earn over $1.2 million. That's a lot. And the reason is because you borrowed 400 grand, you got to pay 400 grand back, but you also have to pay interest on that. Mm-hmm. But before you can make those interest and principal payments, you have to pay tax to the government. So mortgages are hugely expensive. And what the Smith maneuver does is it converts your non-deductible interest on that mortgage to tax deductions, thereby vastly reducing your tax bill. And because you're reducing your tax bill on an annual basis, you have money in your hands that you otherwise wouldn't have, and that's a tax refund. And by applying that against your mortgage each year, you're out of that expensive non-deductible debt faster. And if you're out of it faster, you're paying less in interest. So that non-deductible debt costs you less. Plus, because of the strategy and how it works, you've reduced your tax bill each and every year. And you're only reducing your tax bill because you're getting invested now with money that you may not know you have available to you. And so the way we restructure your mortgage, it allows you to access the equity in your home as fast as you're creating it with your monthly mortgage payment. Most people, they make a mortgage payment and that's it. 25 years later, they're finally clear title to that house, right? It's a long slog. But as fast as they're paying down that bad mortgage debt, they're increasing their equity in the home. And the more equity you have, the more you are losing to inflation because you're not putting it to work. And your listeners will understand this very well. They're real estate investment focused, either active or looking to get into it. And there's an understanding there that if you have equity in any of your assets, it's unproductive. It's dead. There's a reason they call it dead equity, right? So, and the higher inflation is, the more value you're losing. So that's why it's so important to put your equity to work as fast as you're creating it, so that you reduce the effect of inflation, you beat the effect of inflation by getting out of that debt faster, by reducing your tax bill, by accruing assets that otherwise you wouldn't have available to you.
Okay. That was a very simplified explanation, but I'm still going to say that some of us might need to listen to that 2 or 3 times over to
Mhm.
really grasp the concept of it. And I think that there's so many valuable points that you mentioned there. But you know what? It's this whole way of thinking and this whole maneuver, we call it, or you call it, uh, is outside of what the general population is used to doing, right?
Yeah.
We're not used to kind of maneuvering things like this. We get a mortgage, we pay it for 25, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it might be, and we expect it to be that long before we pay it off. But what you're saying is, if we do this properly, if we set ourselves up maybe with the right mortgage, and we are using our tax deductions properly, we can pay off our mortgages quicker, correct?
In effect, yes. Now, back to what you just mentioned a moment ago, the fundamental fight that we're facing here is inertia. And what I mean by that is, especially the older people in the demographic here, they grew up listening to their uncle, their father, mother, grandparents, and they're all telling you as a young adult, hey, you got to pay off your mortgage by the time you hit retirement. You got to be clear title by the time you hit retirement. And so what do? We've had this ingrained in us. And so we put our money towards the mortgage. And with limited resources, financial resources, because we're paying out our mortgage and maybe throwing a few extra bucks on it because we got to be clear title, got to be clear title. That's what everyone says. Because we're doing that, putting our money there, we're not putting our money into investments. And so we hit retirement age and we have a fantastic party, retirement. Bill shows off his gold watch he got at retirement party. Everyone's there drinking tequila, having a hell of a time. Bill and Mary wake up in the morning, they do the math, realizing they're now unemployed. They don't have any investment assets. All they have is this house, which has for years been earning them negative return because of all this equity that they've been accruing and not putting to work. What do? Well, they have very little option. They can go to work again, Walmart, Costco. They can ask their kids for money. They can downsize, leave the house that they love, or they sign up for a reverse mortgage. And we're happy that reverse mortgages exist because who else is going to loan money to a retired senior citizen, unemployed senior citizen? But for those people who are in that position, great, it's there. But we want to be able to avoid that. Because if we sign up for reverse mortgage, we've been working for the bank for 25, 30, 40 years, finally clear of it. The next day, we got to start selling the house back to the bank. It doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So what the Smith maneuver does is it doesn't wait for you to consume your equity via reverse mortgage when you're retired. It puts your equity to work now when you're as young as you're ever going to be by getting whatever you pay down on that mortgage, pulling it back out and getting it invested and letting those investments on a monthly basis. You're doing this, bang, bang, getting invested. These investment assets, they accrue over time. And now you have a big investment portfolio you can draw investment income from. In addition to your CPP and OAS, you do have funds aside that can provide you retirement income.
Okay. So what we're doing with this strategy is we're using the equity that we build up in our house because, hopefully it's going up in value. Our mortgage is being paid down. We have equity in the house. We're using that equity instead of it being dead equity like you're talking about and doing nothing for us. We're now taking that money and investing it in something. So now we invest it in something. It's making us an interest rate on our investment. And is that tax deductible? Is there a benefit tax-wise for that?
Yeah, the distinction is let's say I've got a $500,000 mortgage. I get a brand new $500,000 mortgage. I make my very first mortgage payment. Let's call it $3,000. $2,000 of that $3,000 goes to the bank in interest. It's gone. Goodbye. I don't see it again. That's the price I pay for borrowing the bank's money. And it's not tax deductible. I can't reduce my taxable income by that amount. But $1,000 of that payment does reduce the principal on that mortgage. And if you're in the right mortgage product, when you pay that down by $1,000, you can borrow it back real time. Next month, pay down, borrow back, pay down, borrow back. Now, what a lot of Canadians do, they may have the right type of mortgage product already, not know why they have it. Their mortgage broker or their banker put them in this mortgage. Here you go. They get their statement each month and say, why is my this balance, this home equity line of credit balance, it's increasing. I can borrow more and more, about $1,000 a month. Fantastic. That's what it's going to cost me to lease an Audi.
Right.
And so what Canadians do is they pay down their mortgage with this mortgage product if they haven't been taught how to use it, and they borrow it back to buy assets which are going to depreciate in value, which are not tax deductible. So all they're doing is paying down bad debt and borrowing back bad debt to acquire assets which disappear.
Right.
That's if they have the right type of mortgage product but don't know how to use it. If you have the right type of mortgage product but do know how to use it, when you pay it down by $1,000, the limit on that line of credit opens up by $1,000. You pull it out and you invest it. Because the principle on which this functions is the fact that it's been around for decades. If a Canadian borrows with the reasonable expectation of generating income, you can deduct the interest on that borrowing. So to your point, when I borrow that $1,000 each month, the interest I subsequently pay on that $1,000 is tax deductible. It's not the investment itself that's tax deductible. It's the borrowing on the money that I use to buy that. So what this allows me to do, if I have the right type of mortgage product, if I understand the difference between debt, which the wealthy do, they're very clear on that. It's for primary reasons they're wealthy. If I understand the value of deductible debt, then I implement the strategy. I pull that $1,000 out each month and I get it invested. Versus making that mortgage payment and not pulling it out and getting it invested. So that's the nice thing about this is it doesn't require any additional cash flow from the homeowner on a monthly basis. All I'm doing is using the mortgage payment that I'm making anyways. But I'm accessing the principal I reduce, pulling it out to invest. Because I'm borrowing to invest, at tax time, the CRA, they take their chunk of flesh every 2 weeks off my paycheck. Right? I send my tax return and they look at it and they say, oh, we didn't know you had these tax deductions. We took too much money from you. So we got to send you money back. And this is money you wouldn't otherwise have received. So you take that refund, you make an extra payment against your mortgage, pull that out to invest as well. So this is why we're generating the tax deductions, because we're investing this equity each month. We're using that tax relief to make extra payments against the mortgage so it's gone faster.
Yeah. So your amount of debt is necessarily not gone. But your mortgage is gone and your line of credit gets increased as you make these payments, and then you use that line of credit and you invest it in something that's going to make you money. The interest that you pay to borrow that money from the bank, that's tax deductible. And when you, at the end of the year, use all of these tax deductions, you get a credit back, you put that towards your mortgage. So your mortgage is going down, 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 down.
Yep.
Your amount that you are investing as your home equity line of credit is going up, 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 up.
Yep.
But it's also making a return at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
So this goes back to what I was saying, inertia, about how everyone has been ingrained to be mortgage free by the time they hit retirement. If we realize that is outdated, outmoded, it doesn't work anymore, because we Canadians are going to be in debt for the rest of our lives anyways, we may as well make it tax deductible. But if we agree that we want to behave like the wealthy and use debt to our advantage, then we can implement this strategy. And because we're paying down that mortgage and pulling the equity back out to invest, we get the tax deductions. We're able to prepay our mortgage. We're taking advantage of compound growth. Now, an important comment here, it's picking it out of pepper here, but you mentioned earlier that you're paying off your mortgage sooner. And that is not technically the case, because anything that's secured by an asset is a mortgage, regardless of the terms, amortizing, interest only, deductible, non-deductible. So, but we're paying down that bad debt mortgage faster. We're replacing it with an investment loan, which is secured by the house. Yeah. Which over the course, like if I got a 25-year mortgage and I implement the Smith maneuver, maybe it's gone in 10 years, that non-deductible debt. Yeah. But in 10 years, that $500,000 is being whittled down to zero. I've got, $500,000 on that HELOC, that line of credit. And so this is where a lot of people say, but I've been told to be clear title. You want me to maintain my debt. Yes, I do. Why? Because it's tax deductible debt. Does fantastic things for your tax bill. And it's allowed you to build up an investment portfolio which is worth $1.4 million. Right? You net it out and you got $900,000 net worth improvement over the course of 25 years. Where if you didn't do this strategy, you would have a net worth improvement of zero.
Right. Absolutely. And it's not taking extra money out of our pockets to do this. It's not taking, like, this is mortgage payments we're paying anyways. So we might as well use the tax deductions we can use and start investing the debt equity that we have and taking advantage of all of these, I wouldn't call them loopholes, but all of these tax strategies, I guess,
Tax
that
rules.
are available to us.
Tax rules as written by the CRA, right?
Yeah.
Now, to the astute amongst you might be saying, well, hold on, Smith. I got a mortgage before I'm doing the Smith maneuver. It cost me $3,000 a month. That mortgage balance is going down. I refinance into a mortgage structure that does work for this. And you're telling me it still only cost me $3,000 a month, my mortgage payment. How can that be, Smith, if I still have that mortgage payment of $3,000, but that line of credit balance is increasing as fast as that mortgage balance is going down? I have to service the interest expense on that line of credit each month. And if it's not coming from my pocket, where is it coming from? And the answer lies in the increasing efficiency of the regular mortgage payment. It's getting a little technical here, but if anyone understands mortgages, they understand that each subsequent month with a $3,000 constant mortgage payment, less and less goes to interest and more reduces principal. So the very first month, $1,000 reduces principal. I borrow back $1,000, I invest it. The next month, $1,003 reduces in principal. I borrow back that $1,003. The bank takes their $3 in interest from the first month's borrowing of $1,000, leaving me $1,000 to invest. The next month, $1,007 goes down on principal. I borrow back $1,007. The bank takes not $3 this month, they take $7 because they need to get the interest paid for the first 2 months borrowing. And 1,007 minus 7 leaves me again $1,000 to invest. So this is why it doesn't require any additional cash flow from my pocket. If I do have the ability to come out of pocket by extra dollars and make an extra payment against my mortgage by $100, $200, $300, then that amortization is going to compress even faster. The accumulation of tax deductions grows exponentially faster. So does my investment portfolio.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Okay. Thank you. We got a couple questions in the chat, so maybe we'll just hit those now before we continue on, because I got a few more questions for you, obviously. What can you invest in that would qualify, in brackets? I'll put this up on the screen here so you can see it. What can you invest in on a monthly basis for the $1,000? Wouldn't you need to wait until you had a substantial amount to actually invest with?
Very good question. Now, of course, a lot of the people who are watching this or will watch this are interested in real estate. There are a great number of investments out there which qualify for deductible interest on money borrowed to acquire those assets. So stocks, bonds, mutual funds. If you're interested in real estate, you buy mix, REITs, ETFs, private lending. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can qualify for deductible interest. Now, some of you are saying, well, $1,000 a month. I want to buy more properties. How do I do that? Right? You're not going to do that with $1,000 a month.
Right.
But you still can invest in real estate focused investments and claim the tax deductions. However, the nice thing about this is many people will need to be refinanced because they're in the wrong type of mortgage product.
Yeah.
And I know housing prices have softened, but they're still up significantly from what they were not too long ago. And so I refi into the mortgage that does work for this. And because the value of my house has gone up over time, and up until this point, I paid down that mortgage and reduced that loan to value, I might have $50,000, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 of immediately available equity after this refi that I can pull out and buy my first piece of investment property, or my second, or my third. And then I continue with that $1,000 monthly investment somewhere else. I'm not buying a door with $1,000 a month. Yeah. But even if you refinance and you don't have enough immediately available equity, if you're investing $1,000 a month, over time, that'll grow to 50 grand, 75 grand, and whatever asset you've been acquiring, you can redeem that for cash and then use that for a down payment.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, here we are in this is being broadcast to our Fearless Real Estate Investors group. So, our main focus here is to invest in real estate. But let's be honest, there's other things to invest in that can make us a return. And so, like you said, there's, stocks, whatever, REITs.
Yeah, feel free to invest in real estate through assets which allow you to acquire this by $800,000, $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're out there.
Gotcha. Another question here from Liz. So my LOC is way more expensive than my mortgage. How do I pay off that LOC?
Hello, Liz. Okay, so we have to remember that there are going to be people who have mortgages which are at the 2% amortizing rate, and because of what rates have done, now they're 7.7 on the HELOC. Does it make sense to make extra payments against 2% non-deductible debt and replace it with, let's call it 7% tax deductible debt, because you're making these extra payments, getting rid of it faster, pulling it out? If you are at, for example, the 50% marginal tax rate, that 7% borrowed money to invest doesn't cost you 7%. It costs you 3.5. Right? That's the real cost because it's tax deductible. Now, does it make sense to replace 2% with 3.5? In this case, maybe I don't pour as much money as I can against my mortgage above and beyond the mortgage payment and replace it. Maybe the spread is such that, it's still a bit more expensive even after deductibility on that HELOC, but I don't want to miss out on investing $1,000 a month at 7, 8, 10, 15%. So maybe it's worth it. Plus, this isn't going to be the case forever. These 2% mortgages are going to refinance in the next year, 2, 3 years, and they're going up again. Mm-hmm. And so another consideration is, if I do make a lot of prepayments against my mortgage, take advantage of some of the accelerators that are out there, I am paying down 2% money, replacing it with 3.5% money. But in a year and a half, when my term's up and I have to refinance, because I've been prepaying that non-deductible 2% money, now I have to pay 5%, but the balance is a lot lower when it comes to renew. Mm-hmm. And so my mortgage rate is higher, but my mortgage payment might even actually be lower than when I was paying at 2%. So there's a lot of different considerations here. And thanks, Liz, there's a lot of different components to that answer as well. But so we do have to remember that the rate that we see on the statement from our mortgage lender about how much we're paying on that HELOC isn't what we're actually paying. We got to factor in our marginal tax rate. So it is cheaper. So okay. The question that, we've got Smith Maneuver certified professionals of all professions, investment advisors, mortgage brokers, tax professionals, insurance, realtors. And these people can say, look, it doesn't make sense to throw extra cash against your mortgage, or it does make sense to throw extra cash against your mortgage. But don't let the fact that you may be paying down 2% money and paying 7%, the posted rate on that HELOC, don't let that deter you from at least doing the plain Jane Smith Maneuver, because that 2% money is going down regardless, mm-hmm. and you have access to it, mm-hmm. right? So okay, go ahead. Sorry, I was just going to say. So the question, when the differential is such as it is now, and when was the last time we saw such a differential? I don't recall, right? So this is extraordinary times. The question is, do we want to prepay each month periodically? It's not, do we want to do the Smith Maneuver? We can do the Smith Maneuver. As far as I'm concerned, we should do the Smith Maneuver. A lot of things to take into consideration. We should do the Smith Maneuver when things level out. When you do have to renew your mortgage, you're not going to be able to avoid that 4.5%, 5%, 5.5%, whatever it is. Then it's going to make a lot of sense to prepay your mortgage in addition to doing just the regular mortgage payment reborrow.
Right. Okay. So, for those that might be on a variable rate mortgage right now, and aren't locked in at the 2% that was existing a long time ago, but are maybe paying 5.5% or 6% right now on a variable rate, it makes a ton of sense for them to be doing the Smith maneuver right now.
I would much rather replace 5% debt with 3.5%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And take advantage of compound growth.
Right. And that's the big key to this, is that investment is making money too.
Yeah. And we got to remember that my debt, it's simple interest on that HELOC, right? But I'm enjoying compound growth on the investment.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things to take into consideration here. And we also have to remember that this is a long-term strategy. This is as long as it gets. Yeah. And rates are high now. They were low. They're going to be low again. Then they're going to get high and low, and inflation is going to go up. It's going to go down. We're going to experience a lot of different changes in rates and inflation and all that good stuff over the course of time. But we average it out. I mean, you look at an index chart and we see equities have done 10% since 1950, right? So the key is the Smith maneuver makes money available to invest. What do you invest in? That's up to you and your advisor. And hopefully you're using a Smith maneuver certified professional advisor, but the decision on what to invest in is up to you. If you pull this money out, whether you're pulling a big chunk out to invest when you refinance, or if you're investing $1,000 a month, whatever it is, if you're putting this towards something like your cousin's internet startup, don't blame the Smith maneuver, right? Because you chose to do that with your money.
Yeah.
So be smart with it. Don't quote unquote go to Vegas with this. This is a long-term strategy which is going to be there for your family's security over the course of the long term. If you want to gamble with money, find some cash somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it can be fun to make a flyer somewhere here or there, but for this, be responsible on the investing side.
What would you say would be the absolute wrong thing for somebody to do? Like how could they be kind of maybe trying to do this maneuver, but do it the wrong way?
They try to do it themselves.
Okay.
If I'm not a mortgage broker, I'm not going to try to get my own mortgage. I'm not going to go into my bank that I've been dealing with for 10, 15, 20 years and trust them.
Yeah.
The mortgage specialist at the bank, they work for the bank. They don't work for you. They do not have a fiduciary responsibility to do the best for their client, which is you. You walk into the bank and say, hey, I want to do the Smith maneuver. I need a readvanceable mortgage. Chances are, or the guy behind the desk can say, well, I don't know what the Smith maneuver is, but we got a readvanceable mortgage. Here you go. Where's your support? Did you get the right one? What are your prepayment allowances? How is the structure? So just because you have a readvanceable mortgage doesn't mean you have the best one. And on the investing side, people who do a little bit of investing always tend to think they're smarter than they actually are. And this is, like I said, this is your family security. Do not gamble with this. Do not try to do it yourself. On the tax side, I want to save $300, $500, $600. I'm going to do my own taxes. Folks, you're dealing with the CRA here. And if you're tracking it wrong, if you're not tracking it at all, if you make a mistake, they could knock on your door. So don't try to do this yourself. This is where people blow up. It's not just the Smith maneuver. It's anything. Yeah. I don't try to change the valves on my car. I take it to a professional.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And for all of us that are real estate investors, I think those that have been doing it for a while all know that we talk about all the time, building your power team, making sure that you have people on your team that are professionals. I want to earn 1% of 100 people's efforts instead of doing 100% of my own. And if those 100 people around me are all professionals in what they do, then how much better off am I? So yeah, absolutely use the professionals. And so let's touch on this since we're talking about it. Smith maneuver certified professionals. If somebody wants to find a Smith maneuver certified professional, so somebody that can talk to me about investments or somebody that can talk to me about mortgages, or where do I find these people? Where do I go?
We've on smithman.net, which is the website, top right, we've got find an SMCP, Smith maneuver certified professional. Click on that, fill out some information, and we'll connect you with whoever you're requesting. Typically, you want to request a mortgage broker. That's the first step. Don't have the right mortgage, can't do the strategy, full stop.
Yeah.
Right? But you can
Yeah.
select, I want to talk to a mortgage broker, a tax professional, investment advisor, a realtor, all these different, you can click the box and then we'll connect you with the SMCPs close to you.
Perfect. So there, guys, there you go. You know, some of these things can get a little bit complicated. We got to make sure that we're in the right product for it to work properly and to take full advantage of it. And so let's work with the professionals that have been certified. So let's just touch on that for a second. Those that have been certified obviously have gone through training with you, I'm assuming, and you know, clearly understand what these strategies are and how everybody's individual circumstances might be slightly different, and so then they can kind of start to maneuver people into the right product. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah, and like from the mortgage side, readvanceable mortgage A might be best for Bill, but readvanceable mortgage B might be best for Terry, right?
Yeah.
So we've got mortgage professionals, we got all these different types of professionals, and the nice thing is that yes, they've gone through training, but they know each other. Like in Edmonton, we got a bunch of different SMCPs of various professions. They know each other. So you know what happens a lot when someone does a strategy and they learn it from someone. They learn it from some guy online or whatever. Okay, I want to do the strategy. They talk to their accountant. Their accountant's like, I don't know what this is. They talk to their investment advisor. I don't know what this is. Mortgage, I don't know what this is. And then they got to explain. Well, with this, we connect you with Smith Maneuver certified professionals of different professions who know each other.
Yeah.
They know exactly what you're doing. They know your situation. They know the best product for you. They know how to build your plan, and they know how to talk to each other. Accountants and investment advisors at tax time, and you know, all these different professionals, so that the client isn't having to try to explain everything to all their professionals.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Let me just touch on a couple questions here in the chat. First of all, I just want to highlight, Jules put this in the chat, that yes, Sean Impey is a Smith Maneuver certified mortgage broker. He is also our mortgage broker here that we recommend here in Fearless for investors. So he ties in well with everything as far as a mortgage broker is concerned for our members here in Fearless.
Yeah, sounds great.
Wouldn't you need a cash flowing investment to pay the interest on the LOC, is a question by one of our users.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of answered that when I was talking about the increasing efficiency of the regular mortgage payment. The answer is no. You don't have to have a cash flowing investment. I can invest in an equity fund, which has no intention of paying any dividends, but it doesn't state we will never pay dividends or distributions. Therefore, there's a reasonable expectation that in the future it may. So I can still claim the deductions. But that investment doesn't send me any cash flow. I don't need cash flow from the investment to service the interest on that HELOC, because the fact that more and more principal is reducing on that principal mortgage balance means I can borrow back more and more each month. And if I'm investing a constant amount, then I have more and more residual cash in my specialized bank account that I use only for this to service the more and more interest expense on that line of credit. So I'm pulling the money from that line of credit, and the lender comes and takes the money to service the interest that I just took from that line of credit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love it. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
This is cool. So George is asking, what mortgages are currently favorable to the Smith Maneuver? That might be tough because like you said, mortgage A might be good for so-and-so, mortgage B for the other person, but
there really is no answer to that, George, because I don't know your situation. Not that I'm a mortgage broker, but like I said, because of your personal financial situation, your goals, your prospects, your existing asset base, there's a number of different things which will dictate whether mortgage A is better for you or mortgage B. But the fact is, almost every major bank out there has a readvanceable mortgage. There are a bunch of monoline lenders. They're technically not banks, but they have readvanceable mortgages. But they're all different. They function different. They're set up different. Rates are different. But the one that is best for you, George, we don't know until you have an SMCP mortgage broker look at your situation.
What is a monoline lender?
There are they're non-bank lenders,
Okay.
right?
Oh.
So RBC is a bank, BMO
Yeah.
is a bank, right? MCAP
Gotcha.
is not monoline.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, question here. Banks are no longer matching dollar for dollar principal pay down to LOC. How is this affecting the Smith maneuver?
Correct. And that's coming into effect across the board tomorrow. What OSFI has done, the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, is they've said that for any loan to value over 65%, a portion of principal must reduce and not be accessible again. So what this means is, I'm not going to go into I'm not going to go into this in depth, but some of the lenders out there, that means that if you pay $1,000 down, you can't access $1,000. Some of the lenders out there have been built correctly so that their operation and function isn't affected by these new rules. And again, SMCP mortgage brokers can assist with that.
Okay. Good. And then, like, just big overview on that. If somebody's mortgage is down below the 65, then it would be dollar for dollar after that. Still
dollar for dollar.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the rule that came into effect in 2012 is really being fully implemented now, is what's happening. But the rule that came into effect generally in 2012 said that lines of credit can no longer go above 65% loan to value. So that's been in play for a long time now, obviously, 11 years, my math is correct. But it's being more wholly implemented now that there are changes to some lenders, the way they've been set up, but not to others.
Okay, awesome. Good. Here's a little shout out to you. I'm not sure who it's from, but best decision ever. Apparently you referred a broker and an accountant.
Maybe I just submitted that.
Yeah, that came from you, didn't it? Yeah, I must have. Okay, Nand asked a question. Approximately how long would it take to move the whole mortgage to a HELOC debt that qualifies for the interest deduction?
So basically, I think this question is, how long will it take me to convert my mortgage? And for a plain Jane Smith maneuver, which is just making your mortgage payment, pay it down, borrow back, we're typically seeing a 25-year amortized mortgage go down to 22, 23 years. Okay. And 3 years, big whoop. But don't forget, that's $0 additional out of your pocket. So you can either have 25 or you can have 22. But in addition to that, we're seeing a net worth improvement over that 25-year amortization period, original M, of $300,000 to $400,000. Again, zero extra out of pocket.
Yeah, who wouldn't mind having an extra 300 cash or 300 of net worth and 3 years less mortgage payment, right? Like worst case scenario. Yeah.
Now, there are a number of accelerators. I won't list them. They're in the book. But, but we regularly see, very rarely is someone only able to do the plain Jane Smith maneuver. They almost always have the availability of implementing one or two, maybe more of the accelerators, which regularly we see, instead of a 25-year, having this bad debt for 25 years, now we're seeing 6, 7, 8 years. And instead of a 300 to 400 net worth improvement, we're seeing a net worth improvement of upwards of $1 million, over $1 million, by implementing one or more of these accelerators. And one accelerator that your listeners are going to be, two, they're going to be very interested. Real quick, like I mentioned earlier, if I'm in the wrong mortgage, I talk to an SMCP broker, I get into the right mortgage. Maybe I have $40,000, $60,000, $100,000 I can immediately invest somewhere. Boom, I use that to buy an investment property. Now I have one property, or my second or third, whatever it is. That's the prime the pump accelerator. Take additional equity out. It's additional borrowing, but take that out, get it invested right away. Now with these properties, I can implement the cash flow down accelerator, which means typically what people do, they got a rental property, they get $3,000 from their renter, they put it into their dedicated rental bank account, and boom, out goes $3,000 to service the mortgage and the expenses on that business, that rental property. This is cash flow neutral example. But what they can do is they get that $3,000 from their renter, they pay down their own mortgage on the house in which they live, and they pull it back out because that line of credit limit opens up, and they put it into their dedicated rental bank account, and then they service the expenses. And if I'm making my mortgage payment at $3,000 a month, plus I'm overpaying my mortgage each month by another $3,000 rental receipts, boom, this is where we see a mortgage, non-deductible mortgage debt gone in less than 10 years, easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the accelerators are very powerful.
Love it. So if somebody is interested in this, okay, no, I have a question, and I don't think I've ever asked you this before, so I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but you're serving us all of this information. How do you make money? Like, what do you get out of this by like telling us all about the Smith maneuver? Like, what do you get from this?
There's two answers to this.
Okay.
There's two answers. Firstly, the network of certified professionals that we have, this isn't free for them. Right.
Okay.
So the best way, and the second answer is because I truly believe that a financially better off Canadian is a financially better off Canada. And because I believe that Canadians who are financially better off are going to contribute to a better Canada, I want more better off Canadians out there. I want to get word out to Canadians so that at least they know about the strategy, have an opportunity to look into it. Is it for me? Is it not? And a lot of them will implement it, become better off. Now, the reason I structured my income the way it did is because I can offer this service of giving Canadian homeowners knowledge, generating this awareness for free. Because the people that they are going to look to help them are paying me to be in this network, to gain that knowledge, to be licensed to use the term Smith maneuver as trademark. So people write into my website all the time, hey, I'm Kelly from Calgary, I'm Terry from Toronto, I'm looking for an SMCP broker. And I do that. I connect them personally to the SMCP. You get an email, the signature says Robinson Smith. So I don't get paid by the person who's looking to implement this strategy, looking to be connected with these SMCPs.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Makes sense. I love it. We had a business before that was very, very similar to that, in referring realtors all across Canada to investors that were looking for investment focused realtors. So that makes sense. Okay. So I think I'm running out of questions. I don't see any more here in the chat. But like, if somebody wants to learn more, I'm assuming the place you would send them is to your professionals. But is there another place they can go to? I know you have the book, so if they want a book, or they want to learn more about the strategy, where do they go?
You've got a link, Corey, I think, and I just sent it to Jules just before we came on air.
Okay,
she was asking for it, so you've had one before. You have one now. You can get that out to everybody. That's going to take them to the website.
Okay.
What I am going to do is, I don't think I forwarded Jules a discount code for you, because if you provide everybody with a discount code, then they get, might be 10%, but I think it's 15% off of the book, Smithman Calculator. We got a homeowner course. So that's where it is. Provide this link to everybody, Corey, and I'll make sure you get a discount code. They can subsequently go, if they're interested in buying the book, they can do that through the website, which they'll reach through your link.
Love it. Awesome. Yes, Jules says, Jules just shared the code in the chat. She says, we need a code, Rob. So if you don't mind sending that over at some point, and we'll put it in the chat here, guys. So, I've personally obviously bought and read the book. I've personally used your calculator as well. I still pay for it, I think, every single month, because or I don't know how it works, but something like that. And because I want it there when I need to use it, and I think it's very, very valuable. So there's a lot of tools here, guys. If you're hearing about this for the first time, you want to learn more, you want to know what this is all about, you want to save yourselves thousands of dollars in taxes and just pay off your mortgages, your non-deductible taxes, non-deductible mortgages.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Corey.
Yes, then this is the place you want to go, and this is what you want to learn about. So there we go. I appreciate you coming me on, and maybe at some point, Rob, in the next month or two, we could have you back on to maybe, I know we did this a year ago, but kind of just show us the calculator and how this actually works and numbers wise.
So happy to do it.
Yeah, that would be great if we can kind of follow up on this for some of our newbies here that haven't really gone through this whole strategy yet. And so maybe we'll plan to do that. I'll get Jules to reach out to you. But
Perfect.
I appreciate you coming on, and again, just talking about this with us, clarifying and answering a lot of these questions. And I think that as interest rates go up, let's just answer this one question. One last question. As interest rates go up and how they've gone up over the last year and a half or so, does it make the Smith maneuver more important or less important?
I will start by answering the question, does it make sense when rates are high? And the answer to that is we have to remember that my father developed the strategy back in the mid 80s when rates were double digits, right? And if it didn't work when rates were high, then we wouldn't be talking now. But the fact is, what's nice about the strategy is that it's like you're like on a seesaw or a teeter-totter, depending on what part of Canada, whatever you call that thing. But when rates are high, maybe instead of $1,000 to invest, I have $900 to invest each month because rates are high. That HELOC money costs me a bit more. But because rates are high, my tax refunds are larger. I have more to prepay my mortgage each year. I have more to then subsequently invest. When rates are low, my tax relief is smaller, but I have more to invest. Instead of $900, maybe I got $1,100 to invest each month. So this all, and again, because it's long term, this all flattens out. Rates high, rates low, all that stuff. But it works in all environments. Yeah.
Okay, I see some Halloweeners coming to my door here, and I can't answer it. Okay, so awesome. This is absolutely added clarity. Urshad says my book, which I bought in the 90s, looks different. So yes, I'm sure you've updated the cover to that. But we thank you, Robinson, for coming on and kind of clarifying some of the questions that we have. We really appreciate that, and we will have you on again shortly.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Absolutely.
Thank you again. I appreciate it. And there we go, guys. Okay. Another Tactical Tuesday, guys. And hopefully that has answered some of your questions about the Smith maneuver and clarified a few things regarding this strategy. Jules put in the chat the link if you want to learn more, you want more information about it. We will get a discount code for you as well for some of the products that are available there, and we will put it in the chat and maybe make a separate thread here within Fearless for that following this Tactical Tuesday. But thanks for joining us again this week. We're going to see our Ignited members over in our laser session here in just a few minutes, and we'll see you again next week, guys, for another Tactical Tuesday. Take care.